Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 6.
A state investigator is now looking into the case of a former Fargo deputy chief regarding the trouble in late May in downtown Fargo. The city requested an outside review to look at whether charges should be filed after it declined not to do so.
As Valley News Team's Joshua Peguero explains, this decision comes just as the U.S. Attorney announced multiple federal investigations surrounding the May 30th riot.
After being pushed for weeks by organizers, the city of Fargo requested the Attorney General to review its investigation of former Deputy Police Chief Todd Osmundson. The group One Fargo and the local Black Lives Matter chapter have long been calling for an independent review.
We want to understand why people are being charged, but Osmundson is not.
Last week, Fargo Police Chief David Todd stated he wouldn't pursue charges against Osmundson. Osmundson was put on suspension and then resigned June 4th for going undercover without permission in downtown Fargo during the May 30 riots.
I took actions on Saturday to protect all officers and protesters and citizens of Fargo during Saturday's events. However, those actions have led to distrust.
An internal investigation found Osmundson acted alone. Osmundson reportedly told one officer he was drinking beer and another he was holding an empty beer can. The city says it did not find sufficient evidence for a crime. Yet, for the sake of transparency, wanted the Bureau of Criminal Investigations to take a second look. The AG's office tells us a BCI agent has been assigned to do an independent review of Osmundson's case. U.S. Attorney Drew Wrigley says his office has multiple ongoing investigations into the events of that day, potentially leading to more federal charges. Earlier this week, Wrigley filed a federal charge against one rider for reportedly stomping on the windshield of a police vehicle. In Fargo, Joshua Peguero, Valley News Live.
The BCI says it will follow its normal procedure and complete a report once it's done. As for federal charges, U.S. Attorney Drew Wrigley says he's open to considering more federal crimes if local law enforcement agencies contact his office.
Fargo's police chief will be talking to city commissioners during Monday's regularly scheduled meeting. David Todd will be explaining changes to a resistance policy specifically relating to chokeholds. The move is being made in light of the national conversations regarding criminal justice reform. City officials have been working on revising policies in the Fargo Police Department.
Just as he said it would, our Friday got off to a pretty good start. Now Hutch is talking about possible storms, and there's new information on the deadly tornado that hit Otter Tail County. Let's get more on the evening ahead from Hutch. Hey there.
Hey, Andrea, thanks so much. We'll get you started right away with the latest information. National Weather Service wrapping up their survey of the 9-mile-long path of the storm. A couple of other highlights are the fact that the wind speeds were 170 miles per hour at its maximum. That makes it an EF4 tornado, 360 yards wide. And a look at the path right here, I-94, between that Dalton and Ashby areas in Grant County, crossed over Interstate 94, worked its way and increased in strength to an EF4 by the time it worked its way to the north and east, and eventually, before hitting Highway 12 up here, roping out and, well, going away after being on the ground for 31 minutes. Temperatures this evening near 80 degrees for most areas, and it's going to stay quiet here for the evening in all of our counties. So get out and enjoy. Temperatures slipping down into the 60s by the time we get to our dinner hour. Grand Forks much the same, and you'll see a few clouds there as well. Storms out in Montana, they're heading our way, and a few of our counties may see some strong storms. I'll have details on when and where here in a moment.
All right, thanks, Hutch.
The damage assessment report from that Otter Tail County tornado earlier this week says that 2 homes and a repair shop were destroyed, while 6 other homes and buildings had minor to little damage. The report says the exact estimate of cost is still ongoing. Otter Tail County would need to have more than $110,000 in damages to public infrastructure to qualify for a state disaster declaration.
The investigation continues into accusations of misconduct on the part of Fargo police. Police say investigators with the Office of Professional Standards interviewed 19-year-old Larry Pope at his home yesterday about his complaint. On Tuesday, Pope accused 2 Fargo police officers of racial profiling and performing an illegal search on June 22nd. Police said they will release the findings once the investigation is done. If you have information about the alleged misconduct, go ahead and call Fargo Police Sergeant Shane Aberly at this phone number, 476-4189.
More cases of police brutality are gaining attention in the wake of George Floyd's death. One such case is Elijah McClain's. He's the 23-year-old black man who died last August in Aurora, Colorado. He was walking home when someone called 911 saying he looked sketchy because he was wearing a mask. Officers struggled to handcuff McClain and put him in a chokehold. Then first responders injected him with a powerful sedative. He went into cardiac arrest and died a few days later. A memorial will be held in less than an hour in Fargo. One Fargo is organizing it to honor McClain. It starts at 7 p.m. at the gazebo in Island Park.
Dozens of police officers in Minneapolis have filed disability claims, saying they are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. In the last 6 weeks, more than 150 officers have started the claim process. An attorney says the number of Minneapolis police officers suffering physical and mental disabilities is astronomical in a department of about 850. He says even though law enforcement is a high-stress career, the last 2 months in Minneapolis have pushed many officers to their breaking point.
Some of these individuals specifically wrote texts to their families during the course of the riots and indicated that they did not feel that they were going to be able to come home because they did not feel that they would come out alive.
Minneapolis police have been under intense scrutiny since cell phone video of George Floyd's fatal May 25th arrest appeared online. Minneapolis is also experiencing a surge of gun violence. Well over 100 people have been shot in the city since Floyd's death.
Authorities are warning you of two high-risk sex offenders in the Fargo area. The first is Tayari Meadows. She was convicted in December 2015 of human trafficking in North Dakota. She met a 14-year-old girl who was walking home from school and asked if she wanted to hang out and make some extra money. The victim was raped by a number of men who then gave the money she was paid for to Meadows. The other sex offender is Jason Dvorak. He was convicted in December for having a sexual conversation with an 8-year-old girl on Facebook. High-risk sex offenders are considered to be most likely to reoffend.
A pilot is in stable condition after his plane went down near the Canadian border in Pembina County. Authorities say it happened yesterday morning west of the town of Pembina near 151st Avenue Northeast. A Border Patrol agent saw the plane go down and managed to get the pilot out of the burning Cessna. The man is expected to be okay. The Federal Aviation Administration is investigating that crash.
A North Fargo man is still on the hunt for answers after he says his tricycle, which was his only mode of transportation, was stolen from him last week in the 1400 block of North Broadway. Suffering from severe heart disease as well as dealing with extreme side effects from his medication, Ron Odell says that riding his trike was easier on his body than walking, and says because he's at high risk for COVID-19, his trike helped him stay off of public transportation.
Too dizzy to balance a two-wheel bike. So this was all I had. It was really a hard loss to take.
Odell says he made a report with police and alerted them, all local pawn shops. If you have any information, you can call dispatch at 701-451-7660. And that story came to us through our whistleblower hotline. So if you need help with an issue in your area, the advice is to give us a call at 701-237-6576 and leave your tip. A member of our investigative team will get on the case and go to work to expose the truth.
Later on Valley News Live at 6, the Minnesota Department of Health released new guidelines for long-term care facilities during the pandemic. We'll tell you what this means for caregivers and visitors.
70s and low 80s today for peak temperatures up and down the Red River Valley. We're tracking storms out to the west heading our way. It'll be hours before they get here. We'll have the latest in your hour-by-hour forecast right after.